In my last video, I introduced you to a group of VTubers known as VTards, for which I profusely apologise. More specifically, the first few days of their existence and how it all went to shit when it turned out that the whole ordeal could only be characterised as an incompetent fuck-up of idiots who wanted to soar the skies of edginess, but instead, like Icarus himself, flew too close to the sun and ended up face-planting the floor pretty hard when it turned out that one of the members of the 5-based girlies taken on the internet was not just a Nazi, but one of the most pathetic men I have ever laid my eyes on, who was using a voice changer to catfish his audience for his own financial gain. We know this because in a piece of investigative work, he was doxxed by Kiwi Farms. Because of the panic that ensued, the group is no more, and the actual girls are scrambling to keep whatever remains of their dignity. Unfortunately, before Kiwi Farms took this matter into their own hands, the people I'm about to talk about were very strongly and vehemently protecting their little Nazi friend. So sit back, relax, and let me tell you all about why, even though I ultimately hope that they'll be able to retreat safely-ish and lick their wounds, the female members of VTards did everything in their power to make this situation much worse for themselves than it had to be. Remember to like and to subscribe. Enjoy. Everything I'm about to show you for this segment was not discovered by me. The full credit for the investigative work goes to Kiwi Farms. I know that a lot of people feel some type of way about KF, I understand why they do, and if your sensibilities are offended, you're welcome to either stop watching or skip ahead to the next chapter or the timestamp that will be somewhere on the screen. I won't take issue with you doing you. However, to me, Kiwi Farms is not quite the boogeyman that my fellow lefties often make it out to be, even though I understand why they think the way they do. Sometimes you find absolute dogshit posted by inbred troglodytes, sometimes you find useful information posted by people with skills that make them valuable. Always you find a lot of hate speech. In this case, Nachisu Miku is a grifter and a Nazi, as well as one of the most pathetic human beings imaginable, who lied and cheated in order to financially enrich himself as an online political speaker. In my opinion, it's in public's interest to know that, and we only know that because of Kiwi Farms. So once again, credit for all the info I'm about to share goes to the original poster, whom I'll be referring to as NB when mentioning him going forward. The reason why I use NB and not his full name, because immediately validating why lefties feel the way they do, in true Kiwi Farms fashion, he uses a slur that YouTube would bonk me for in his name, the N-word slur. And also, to be clear, I won't be showing you any directly identifiable information, I'll simply be talking about it. The unmasking of Nachisu Miku actually happened thanks to Minecraft, more specifically because she, or rather he, reused his old Minecraft account for his new VTuber streams. From there on onwards, NB looked through data breaches and found out an email address associated with an older Minecraft name attached to Nachisu Miku's account, and then, by pulling up Google profiles, we finally got a look at the Aryan Queen that half of the VTard members destroyed their entire credibility for and became a laughingstock of the internet because of. And it was in fact not a woman. Also, at no point do I want you to get the impression that I'm being cheekily transphobic. This is a cis man, born with a cock and balls presumably, that isn't transitioning and identifies as a man. I believe that trans women are women, so when I call him a man, I mean that he's a dude. Which is also funny, because a lot of the VTard members were pretty transphobic about the whole men pretending to be women thing, but this one was an actual man pretending to be a woman, and these goofy Tootsie Rolls fell for it. And so the downfall began. Nachisu, or Bob as I'll now refer to him, not his real name by the way, just a pseudonym I'm giving him as I try to navigate the complicated waters of TOS, aside from being a Nazi, is also an entrepreneurial spirit, with his very own social media website that's been running for 6 years, which has one active user, that user being Bob himself, where he actually makes posts effectively talking to himself, and an example of which you can see on screen right now. And do you see that little 1/100 emote react in the bottom? I think that he reacted to his own post with that. It's sort of like high-fiving yourself, which you can do, but it doesn't help the broader image here. The characteristics of a true white savior don't quite end there though, as he is also a bit of a musician who uploads AI-generated slop songs to his SoundCloud. These songs are mostly about Nick Fuentes and his groypers, though I do not know if they're pro-Fuentes or anti-Fuentes, as they're not archived. It seems like Nachisu Miku was pro-Fuentes, whereas Bob is anti-Fuentes, so I imagine that they were anti-Fuentes too since they were linked to his real profile, but I truly have no way to tell. To further showcase this, as Nachisu Miku in the past, he had the abbreviation RKD4NJF in his Twitter profile. This stands for Rape, Kill, Die for Nicholas J. Fuentes. Nick Fuentes, of course, being a semi-prominent online political figure and the leader of Groypers. He is a quarter Mexican white supremacist banned on most platforms who Bob seems to have a pretty complicated relationship with. Here are a few examples where our boyo Bobby is back to his regular self and he goes on Twitter and then shits on Nick Fuentes, which aside from indicating a weakness of character, or maybe the bipolar disorder, also means that he's just a pathetic grifter, saying whatever he believes will get him the dub in the moment, regardless of whether he actually believes it or not. That's also why I think he tried this whole Nachisu Miku personality, because he's a pathetic failure who saw an opportunity and wanted to see if it will pay off. Makes sense really, given that his entire life appears to be just one failed endeavor after another, such as his Minecraft Let's Plays that also went nowhere. It also makes sense that he tries something new because he was recently given a second chance in the shape of a presidential pardon by Donald Trump, because this muppet of a man took part in the storming of the Capitol building on January 6th, for which an arrest warrant was issued. He got interrogated by the feds and immediately pled guilty, for which he was sentenced for 18 months probation and a measly $500 fine. He probably had no hopes of being able to even try to defend himself because he took fucking selfies of himself committing that crime and then put him up on his Facebook profile. So, what was Nachisu's reaction to all of this becoming public knowledge, you might wonder? I shit you not, he pretended that the person who got doxed is actually his brother who left him his Minecraft account, and then he, and now we're talking back about Bob, back on his main profile, reached out to the owner of Kiwi Farms directly to ask for the post to be taken down or legal action will ensue. Now, I don't jive with anti-Semitism, but there is a part of me that is chuckling at the fact that his entire online persona is this Nazi rightoid groyper, and the moment he threatened legal action, Kiwi Farms users started laughing at him for using Jewish tactics. This brother's account fakeout obviously didn't hold up. Nachisu crumbled like a fucking crouton and admitted to being the person who got doxed and not his sister, and then reiterated that he is an actor performing a play, and it was very obvious from the get-go. And since Nachisu is a gift that keeps on giving, he went live after the whole unmasking, without the voice changer, and when being called out by a chatter for using gay scam Jewish tactic in the shape of pretending to be a woman online to garner support, he began clarifying that he understands how this might come across like such a Jewish tactic, but he actually has a DNA test to prove that he is a proper goyim.
And I'm German. I am German. And I actually have my fucking DNA test here, so let me pull that shit up. Where was it? Let me transition here. You know, I really shouldn't have to prove this, but I'm not fucking Jewish. Like, why would I be talking about Jewish and doing Nazi stuff? I mean, I guess I could see how that might be a Jewish tactic or whatever, but I'm not fucking Jewish. So this is my DNA.
This also spurred on memes and funnies, with my favorite being this one.
Let me transition here.
A pathetic grifter whose life is just a series of failures went and got himself into a world of hurt by being a pathetic grifter, and it's important to remember that what we're seeing now isn't remorse or even an ounce of feeling bad about having lied to his audience. Even though people like Saturn claim that Nachisu is promising full refunds to anyone who wants them, we know that those refunds aren't gonna happen, and we know that he'd still be lying about being a chick to attract this certain kind of people if he wasn't outed. All that this is, really, D is damage control. I want to reiterate this so that we maintain a full and clear picture, and is that Nachisu Miku, or Bob, is a fella whose entire life seemingly is just a series of pathetic disappointments. He has a social media website that nobody uses. He creates AI slop songs that nobody listens to. He shares political takes that nobody cares for. It wasn't until he created an entire alternative persona and started lying about his views that he garnered any kind of an audience that he then scammed. This idiot literally recorded himself committing crimes on January 6th. So to those of you guys watching this, remember, no matter how bad it gets, no matter how sad it gets, when you need a little pick-me-up, just remember that at the very least, you're not this guy. Sadly though, this isn't just about him. This is about Akemi Kurai, this is about Nines, this is about every other dumb motherfucker inside and outside of the VTards group who put their careers on the line to defend the new based BFF that turned out to be a grifting Nazi wannabe who simultaneously loves Nick Fuentes in public and then hates Nick Fuentes in private. So let's talk about the rest of the gang for a little bit, because while Nachisu is done for, there are lessons to be learned here, and even though I already made one video on the topic, I'm not quite done poking fun at Akemi and Nines. Nines began crashing out hard enough that virtual asylum members were counting up how many times an hour she's tweeting. Somewhat understandable given the size of the drama here, but just as a reminder, this is a 34-year-old woman whose response to probably the worst online drama of her VTuber career was not to take a break and touch some grass, but instead to throw all of her weight behind an unhinged Nazi, not once, not twice, but at every available opportunity, and then like a fucking lunatic attacked everything that moved. I will start this little story time with the tweet when Nines announced her departure from VTards, and it goes like this. This has been a really difficult decision to come to. Due to recent events, some things have come to light that, after looking into, I personally can't stand behind. While I still believe in freedom of speech, there are certain things I'm not comfortable associating myself with. I do have a limit. For my own safety and the safety of those around me, I've decided to step away from the group. I don't hold any ill will towards anyone involved, and I truly wish them the best, and I am thankful for the friendships we made. This is my own personal choice. I know this may cause discussion, criticism, and even celebration to some, but I hope people can respect that this is a personal choice I'm making. Now look, I don't blame Nines for leaving. Frankly, it's probably the most reasonable thing to do in this situation, and the entire group is now gone anyway. I'll talk more about that a little bit later, but this decision came about, I imagine, after Nines took a step back, breathed deeply, and realized she's being a fucking idiot. In order to showcase this, I want to start off with one of my favorite exchanges that Nines had when losing her mind. She tweeted out, "The fact that people are shaking and seething because an online fox hag won't denounce a digital Nazi, LMAO, they really don't like when they can't bully you into submission." Now, first of all, I don't know what digital Nazi here means. Being a Nazi is a bit of an absolute. You either are or you aren't. But that aside, this Ares dude asks for law because he has no idea what's going on. So Nines explains, "They are crying, pissing and shitting because I won't make a public announcement. Hey guys, Nazis are bad, LMAO." But Ares is still confused, so he asks for a clarifier again, like, what is a digital Nazi? And then Nines clarifies that it's a member of the group she's in. I think during this, the two brain cells in her head almost made a connection for why people wanted this denouncement. She was truly so close to figuring it out, but alas, figure it out, she did not. Shortly before this, Nines had protected her account, which I can only imagine somebody more responsible in her life told her to do, and is quite reasonable really, as when all of this was going down, like I said, somebody in Virtual Asylum made a tally of how often she was tweeting shit out, and if I'm reading this correctly, then between July 27th and August 6th, she tweeted 172 tweets per day, which gives us 7 tweets per hour. I don't know if this is accounting for every hour of the day or if we're considering a little bit of time for sleep, but 172 tweets a day is a lot of tweets a day. And if you think that Nines had learned, No, she hasn't. You see, at that age, you rarely see genuine change. Her brain, underdeveloped as it might be, has developed as much as it's going to. In the tweet where she announced leaving VTards, she says in the first paragraph that this decision is to do with her wanting to keep herself safe, and in the last paragraph she clarifies that this isn't an apology. She says she learned, but really the lesson she learned isn't commendable because all it is, again, is damage control. And to prove my thesis here, there is already another Nachisu account talking about following Hitler, and one of the 76 followers on that account is none other than Nines herself. And in case you're curious about this visibility limited pinned tweet, it talks about praising Hitler. Because of course it does. If you want more reasons why Nines is a lost cause and will continue being as much of a moron when she's 50 as she is being when she's 34, she's also still following the main Nachisu account on Twitter, unlike people like Akemi, where Nachisu even says in a pinned tweet that all of his opinions are fictional and do not reflect the voice actor behind the avatar. Except that they do. And they also do for Nines. Nines is still, to this day, and will continue for the foreseeable future I imagine, keep eating shit because she is defending Nachisu Miku more than Nachisu Miku defends himself. I don't know if this is some kind of a Stockholm syndrome or just a consequence of being low IQ, but I bet you that if you were to legitimately ask Nines right now if she understands why people were upset the way they were, and if she can steelman their position, she'd have to consult Grok about what steelman means before she'd just shit herself. At the end of the day, Nines supported a moronic and pathetic grifter while he scammed his audience. She put her reputation on the line to defend a Nazi, and once it was all over with and done, she continues to show no sign of remorse and keeps following that very same idiot who put her entire career in jeopardy. Now, obviously, following accounts on Twitter doesn't really mean anything, right? It's possible that she just forgot to unfollow, even though she seems to be on Twitter more than full-time wages spent at their jobs, but it is possible. Is it likely though? I don't know. I don't think so, but you can make up your own mind. Her insistence that there is not going to be an apology would almost be commendable if it came as a result of actual principles and not what feels more like a dumb fuck who'd sooner risk her entire online existence and support a failed Nazi than let the online lefty mob get any W's. But remember guys, she deeply cares about free speech. That's why she supports a Nazi when half of the Nazi platform was about silencing dissidents. All that being said though, there's only so much laughing at the mentally deficient that you can do before it starts feeling like bullying the disabled. So with this, we move on to the last person of this story, Akemi Kurai herself. The leader of VTards and maybe, possibly, probably not, but it's funny to think she might be what I said in my last video I thought Nachisu might have been at first, a fucking Fed. Now we start off with a post that I won't read the entirety of, but you can pause the video and just have a look at it yourself. But the bottom line is that VTards is done and gone for, at least on paper. They're still retarded, they just forego the branding because it's apparent from their behaviour anyway. They do intend to rebrand and start a new group though, and thank fuck for that, because otherwise my title of the beginning of the end wouldn't quite make sense, and now I get to morph it into talking about the next project. Other than that though, Akemi was being cryptic and tweeted out, "Laws sure are neat," which I can only imagine indicates some form of willingness to take legal action on account of what has been done to her by the mean internet, Kiwi Farms included. And then Mad Lord Hallister commented, "You're the daughter of a mob boss, remember?" Which I think might be a VTuber law, I don't know, and I don't care to be quite honest with you, because in response to his comment, Akemi said and then reposted, "More importantly, I'm the daughter of a federal employee protected under the 18 US Code 119 and resident of Kentucky protected under 525.808 laws, whatever they might be." There's a lot to unpack here, frankly, but for starters, you don't want to be divulging details like this when you're under the attack by people who are trying to get your private info, because in some cases, they're not above attacking family members. Second of all, Kiwi Farms, if that's what we're talking about, doesn't respond well to threats, and Null is more than legally savvy given all the shit he had to go through. So this is a double stupid, because if you threaten the entire platform, you become the platform's enemy number one. And finally, If you were to indulge my vibes-based approach, Akemi strikes me as a bit pampered. And pampered people tend not to think very much because life is usually surrounded by comfort. And I could be wrong, to be fair, right? It's not like federal employees are statistically rich. Most are just regular workers. But has Akemi stopped to think what this might mean for a parent's job when their workplace gets contacted about the daughter being a raging piece of shit who wishes for people to be raped as she supports her Nazi BFF? And now you've also got the fact that Akemi was part of a group chat where lolly battles were being had, and most normies, particularly the ones I imagine working in the government, might feel some type of way and be inclined to compare lollies to children. Now, maybe I'm wrong about all of this, maybe I'm thinking too far ahead. If Akemi wants to fuck up her own career, go for it, but when she brings her parents into it and use them as a cudgel against the bad internet people, I worry about what might happen. And also, Akemi's parents work in the federal government, which means, ladies and gents, that she could be a fed, even if unintentionally. Imagine if there was ever a formal investigation done. There won't be, but imagine there is. She'd immediately crumble as the feds in question here are paying her rent. It's just, so much of this is just so ridiculous that you can't help but laugh. And it's sad that real people are getting hurt, but at the same time, holy shit, what did anyone think was going to happen? I mean, they didn't think, right? That's sort of the bottom line with a lot of these people. They just don't think. In either case, now that this video is coming to an end, I do want to highlight something. I don't agree with any of the girls involved in this story being doxxed, harassed, sent threats against, and generally treated in a way that makes them fearful for their lives. Nines included, despite her being a proper muppet. Here's the thing though, don't let them lie to you just because you're being empathetic. If you head on over to their profiles and have a gander at their tweets or listen to them on their streams, you'll quickly get the impression that they were doxxed or threatened for being edgy or not conforming to the status quo, and the evil internet just has it out for them. They weren't, and that's not true. They've been edgy for months, years in some cases, before all of this went down. This happened to them because they aggressively threw their weight behind a pathetic Nazi who goes around threatening to kill people, and when they realized it's a legit fucking Nazi, they almost liked the notoriety that came with it, the extra attention and the unholy joy of it. All of this, even though I disagree with the threats of doxing, came about because of their own stupidity. And when you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Thank you all for watching. I hope you had a good time. Remember to like and to subscribe, and special thanks to my patrons whose names are going to be scrolling through the screen in just a second. Good night, take care, and I'll talk to you soon.